about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
I've said I've been 100% right on this now. Years, it's coming. It's coming. We have $300 trillion of debt at all levels globally, and we're about to have the world's largest margin call. And here in the United States, we have literally an insane bet, highly leveraged bet, both governmental and private corporations, on productivity increases from AI. And by definition, those productivity increases, when you look at it, would have to come with mass layoffs. Full stop.
And per a new Wall Street Journal article, U.S. officials say the president is not considering resuming an all-out war with the regime unless American troops are killed. The reluctance reportedly signaling the president may be willing to tolerate flare-ups for weeks in order to avoid a bigger conflict in the region as he tries to secure a deal.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President.
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend. If we can get something down in writing which will accomplish the same thing without killing everybody, I'd like to do that. Most of my people, I think, would like to do that. In theory, they're pretty close to signing a paper. We've actually gotten along with them very well.
But in a rare rebuke of the president, a handful of Republicans joined Democrats.
Of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And as soon as that's done on our way back, we'll just make a little brief stop off.
Mr. President.
We'll take care of it. We want to help them out. Look, we have a lot of people that voted for Trump. Whether they did or not, it didn't matter. But I had 95% of the Cubans voted for me. They're unbelievable people. They're energetic. They're entrepreneurial. You know, some of the richest people in Miami are Cuban. They're unbelievable. And I'm going to take good care of them. I'm going to let them go back to their land. They want to be back with family. You know, they have a lot of family over there. They've been treated very badly by Cuba. But we're going to treat Cuba well, and we're going to let our people go back and let them invest in Cuba if they'd like. So we have some very good plans for Cuba. I think, you know, we have to get rid of the regime was very tough, very nasty. The difference is now they don't have money coming in. They had a lot of money coming in from Venezuela. They don't have any money coming. They had oil coming in. They had money coming in. But we're going to take care of Cuba.
Mr. President, sir.
And they, you know what? They want us to. The people want us there so badly.
Mr. President, sir.
I wanted to ask you about this report that you would only restart the conflict with Iran if they killed U.S. troops. Is that your red line for ending the ceasefire?
If they killed
U.S. troops.
What does that mean?
That you would restart the war with Iran if they killed U.S. troops.
Well, it would be a good reason. I'll be honest with you. If they killed U.S. troops, I think I would do that very quickly. Yeah, that's a very interesting question.
How do you define ceasefire?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefire is when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
We keep hearing about these peace deals. We've heard the vice president's negotiated one. We've heard that the president's children have negotiated one. We've heard that they've done it in some other country. They've got some agreement, and then the agreement falls apart. And the one thing that's in common, the flaw that is present in all of those agreements that never did come to fruition is that Benjamin Netanyahu was not a party to the peace deal. And until you get him to be a party to the peace deal, there is no peace deal. He's using this, what's going on in Iran now, which even the Secretary of State admits was done at the request of Israel. They're using that now as cover to do in southern Lebanon what they did in Gaza and are still doing in Gaza. And so Israel has used this opportunity. They don't want it to go away. They would love for us to keep, diminishing the country of Iran and all of their other neighbors with our taxpayer dollars and the lives of our soldiers. So if you want a peace deal, you're going to have to involve Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I saw a statement from the president.
All right, Thursday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me see who is in the chat tonight. I am at the bottom, so I'm going to scroll up just a little bit, see if you guys can keep up. Keeper 1376 is on. USA 1 Mike is on. Motorcycle is on. Skunk 71 is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Patrita C is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Hanslick Donovan is on. Captain Cliff is on. Robin Aroni is on. Mike Griffith is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Deb Pal Fitty is on. Drummer for Jesus is on. Let me see. Arcadia Angel is on. Boot Waters is on. Aggravain is on. Let's go scroll down. JD Joy is on. Let me see here. JBC 2020 is on. The one and only Release the Hog is on. Let me see. Scrolling down. Sometimes I can't remember whether I said them or not. But anyway, Mark 1069 is on. USA Abbey Girl is on. Aphrodites is on. Scrolling down. David Graves 123 is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Jules 21 Hours is on. Luann 5 is on. The one and only Clean Sanchez is on. Be Chilled is on. Let me see here. Snag Dog is on. Conservative Warrior is on. Hey, there's Conservative Warrior right on top of Conservative Waffle, right on top of Conservative Warrior. There we go. All right, Mud Tire 84 is on. One of the Pride is on. My Dog Loves Me is on. All right, scrolling down. J Keen 317 is on. What's up? Back to you, my friend. All right, Mojave Jeep is on. Let me see, scrolling down. Graybeard is on. Lots of different names tonight. Good to see you guys. LA 106 Times is on. I think I've reached the bottom here. All right, there's one more. Graffiti Bug is on, stating that I'm on. All right, let's hop right to it. Of course, we're going to start with Iran. Redacted video overnight, which I believe was last night. But anyway, overnight, Iran struck Kuwait's airport, so it was a day ago, a facility that is also used by the U.S. military. Shortly after the attack, U.S. CENTCOM claimed there was no damage, but the narrative was rebutted within hours by reports showing massive destruction. Play for me.
Well, overnight, Iran launched a series of devastating attacks on Gulf countries. Iran is targeting U.S. bases in multiple countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Iraq, following U.S. attacks on Qasem Island. By the way, Iran said that they were going to retaliate last week, and they did. But according to U.S. CENTCOM, says that every Iranian missile was stopped in its tracks. In other words, shot down. And then daylight hit, and suddenly, shocker, CENTCOM was lying to us? Iranian missiles struck targets all over the region, and video are now emerging as a result of that. Here's Kuwait. That's the Kuwait International Airport. And there are some daylight photos that have also emerged as well, which you can see. And so then once we get satellite imagery, according to Egypt's Intel Observer, fresh satellite imagery confirms the destruction of drone aircraft shelters located within the airbase in Kuwait following this Iranian missile strike. So CENTCOM stopped all of the missiles? Okay. According to Max Blumenthal, a friend of the show over the Gray Zone, said Iran is targeting these bases. Iran seems to have recognized that deterrence can only be established by forcing the U.S. regime, the mafia co-opted by Greater Israel, to recognize every terrorist action has a cost. Meanwhile, we are seeing, obviously, a worsening economy in the United States, and you can draw a direct line between the start of the Iranian war and rising interest rates, rising gas prices, rising food costs all across the United States. According to a new study this morning, new data this morning, most voters believe the U.S. economy has gotten worse since last year, but they're divided over which party can do a better job of handling it. Here's a little insight. They're both in on this together. They both love war. Both of these parties are massively corrupt, and they both, of course, want this war, and they'll do whatever they can to support the military-industrial complex. Iran seems to be done with any sort of negotiations at this point. They're not playing, according to sources in Iran, saying we're not playing this tit for tat anymore, and we're going to carry out these attacks on our own terms. We're not waiting for Trump to come back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're done. What do you make of that?
What I think is that Iran recognizes that the more the war has gone on, the more leverage is going to its side, and it's playing that hand as strongly as I think we could imagine. It's not succumbing. It's not buckling. This idea that because of X, Y, or Z economic costs on the Iranian economy because of the blockade, the whole house of cards is coming unglued, and the regime is about to topple and be coerced. There's no signs of this, and there's no reason to think that that's going to happen. And in fact, what's happening is we're underestimating how much more this is going to escalate. You're run into this. To the segment here really covers the core issues here. We are essentially now in the last few weeks been bombing while negotiating. So the last night was not the first set of tit-for-tat attacks. This has been going on for a while. Both sides have been doing what I call demonstration attacks here. These are kind of attacks to show resolve, that they're not going to be cowed or moved in the negotiations. They also want to sort of send a little demonstration to their other audiences, domestic and international, that they're not buckling. But now what you see is that they're escalating. It's really, I think, quite sad and counterproductive for CENTCOM to be putting out essentially victory rhetoric when this is going to be easily discussed here, and you just showed it within hours. You're able to show that was not the case, and what that does is it disillusions supporters on their own side here. So they might think putting out this rhetoric is a good idea, but over time it tends to be counterproductive, even for their own supporters, because people just see it with their own eyes. I'm sorry to say.
All right, so there you go. Well, it goes on for another minute or two. But anyway, you guys side by side that whenever you can. So I love being lied to. How about anybody else? I mean, I love it. I mean, it's, as much as there is talk about Russia, which, by the way, it's funny, just on a side note, now you have really what is the woke right. We're called the woke right because we're demanding that Trump actually be conservative, and you're not conservative. You demand somebody else be conservative. But anyway, Russia is starting to come across the lips of people like Ben Shapiro again to deflect, obviously, from Israel. But anyway, that's a Russian tactic, KGB tactic, always lying and propaganda and everything else. Well, look at this. U.S. Central Command claim Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims they struck U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and a U.S. air base in the region with missiles and drones today. False. Actually, it was true. So, and by the way, you just saw the video footage of it. And again, I guess, you can just leave this up for a second, guys. Again, it has to do with, I believe this, is the boomers that are actually in charge. Because they honestly don't think that you're going to have contradictory footage to your lies out on X in about 10 seconds. Everybody has a phone. Everybody is taking video, so your lies are going to be contradicted with actual cinematic truth. And that's exactly what happened here. No, this never happened. It actually did happen. Here's all the footage of it. And now we're having to lie because we're not making any inroads to victory. The problem with Iran is, and as I went into this last night briefly, is you are dealing with a ruling class that doesn't give a crap about their population. So that's one thing. We don't have that, and I'm glad we don't. I mean, again, it's tacit to say that we're not even supposed to have a ruling class. But anyway, that our ruling class gives a crap about any of us. We know they really don't, but they're kind of forced into it. But anyway, they're not forced into it there. They don't have social media like we do. There's no accountability. They don't care about their population. So they have that. They don't care if they starve to death. As long as you have the Republican Guard and the mullahs all surviving, which is millions of Islamists, they don't care about the Persians in the population. They don't care. They'll let them all starve to death. They're all useless eaters to them anyway. And we sit back and we're thinking, it's always a huge mistake. It's like a man treating a woman like a man. If you think a woman thinks like a man, you know what? You're not going to ever get married. All right, you need to understand there's differences. There is a big difference between the Iranian mindset and our mindset. And that is what Trump is not getting. But don't worry, there might be a deal over the weekend. That's what we're hearing now. And I believe, what are we on, 98, day 98 now, day 97, something along those lines. So over the weekend, we'll still be in a 100-day war. But anyway, so they will let their population die. So it doesn't matter if you have a blockade. It doesn't matter at all. And they have enough fuel to run their economy anyway. And we're in another Vietnam situation, because if you go and you try to absolutely level Iran, now you're in World War III with Russia and China, who trade goods and services, and China gets a lot of oil from Iran. So, I mean, you can't. See, now you're absolutely tied down. You know what? And it just, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. Isn't this why I said don't get into the war?
Yep.
There's no way to win. There's no way to win, just like there was no way to win in Iraq. There was no way to win in Afghanistan. There was no way to win in Korea. There was no way to win in Vietnam. There was no way to win. You're too far extended. You're 6,000 to 10,000 miles away. You cannot win unless you drop nukes, and then everybody dies. Why is it that Trump fell for this and Biden didn't, Obama didn't, Bush didn't, Clinton didn't, Bush 1 didn't, Reagan didn't, but Trump did? Well, it has to be Israel leverage. It may be the Epstein files. I don't think Trump did anything incriminating, but it may be the Epstein files. I don't know. Something's being dangled over his head, almost like a honeypot, because nobody else fell for it. Nobody else, but here we are again. So you have our own central command lying to the American people. And I would just love to hear all the MAGA moronic pundits all come out and justify this. I would love to hear it. Go to the next one for me. All right, let's go to Douglas McGregor tweet. More good news. But don't worry, it might all be over this weekend. Breaking, multiple tankers break through the U.S. blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, so not only are we gaining nothing, our blockade is beginning to leak. Was any of this true? Well, I went to Grok. Yes, this is a developing story today, June 4th, 2026. Shipping data from Kepler and other trackers reports that multiple Iranian flag tankers, I repeat the word, multiple, carrying around 7 million barrels of oil destined for China, successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz. This marks the first significant breach of the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian port-related traffic since mid-April 2026. And you have administration staffers calling on tankers and ships to just go through the strait right now. It's safe. That's what you have. That's the desperation that we're in right now. The United States of America, with the most potent military that's ever existed, is lowered to administration staffers and cabinet members saying, don't worry about it. International shipping magnates, don't worry about it. Just go right through the strait. Nothing to worry about, even though they just blew up a ship that was laying mines in there. That's how desperate they are. Just trust us. It's good. And nobody's going through there. And that hence the reason why you're seeing skyrocketing prices all over the United States of America and all over the world, because nobody's going through the Strait of Hormuz. People are like, well, we only get like 2% of our oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Doesn't matter. You know that Trump is raiding our strategic oil reserve to give to other nations? There's a reckoning coming. Eventually, we are set, according to Douglas McGregor, we are set to, our SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is set to run out somewhere in July. Because Trump is raiding it. He's already raided 17 million barrels and shipped it overseas, so that everybody can have the illusion that oil doesn't need to go through the strait, and it will keep prices low, just like Joe Biden did right before the election in 2024. So aren't you glad we're winning? It's just, again, not good. Not a good development. And yet Trump is sitting there from the Oval Office, if Americans are killed, we're going to bomb them again. We're not going to go in unless Americans are killed. So you're even telling him what you're going to do and not do? You know what you got to do right now is you literally got to piss on the fire. Call it a night. Or as Phil Robinson said, piss on the fire and call the dogs. Whatever it is, you know what? It's over. You can claim victory because you blew up their military, all right? Even though the Republican Guard is still there and perfectly fine with millions of troops that if you ever go in there in a ground war, you ain't going to win unless you use nukes. This is just sit under cage forever. Did we win in Afghanistan? No. Did we win in Iraq? No. Why? Because they don't let the military off the chain, for one thing. But the other thing is just hide in the mountains, especially Afghanistan, not in Iraq. All right, let's go to the next one. Joe Kent tweet. Iran agreed not to develop nuclear weapons in 2003. Then aren't you glad we attacked them in 2026? I mean, again, now we're asking them to do the exact same thing we already had. And there's no evidence that they've even increased their enriching of uranium. There's no real evidence of any of that. Don't worry, the Mossad tells you that there is. We get it. Now that we're merging our military with the IDF, merging them, all of our weapons technologies, all of our that immediately will then. It's already been documented that they ship them right to China. It's always amazing how China is able to keep up with us technologically, even though they don't. China is not. Everyone treats China like that's like Confucius and brilliant people. Obviously not. You can't be overly brilliant, first of all, when the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and you have no Christianity in your country, you're going to be stupid. But anyway, they never develop any of their own technology. It all comes from us. It's stolen from us a lot of times through Israel. This was done in 2003. 23 years later, you attack. Just like we were told. I was reading True Social Post today from Trump. We were told that their enriching ability, their stockpile of enriched uranium was already decimated. It would take them 100 years to recover. But again, less than a year later, half a year later, we're now with our fleet in the Persian Gulf. We're engaged in a 100-day war. But we were told, 6, 7, 8 months ago that it's not even 6, 7 months, a year ago now, somewhat close to a year because it was July, I believe, July of 2025.
Yep. So
that it was decimated, that their nuclear abilities were decimated. I don't understand. The reason why I'm reading redundant is I don't understand how people don't wake up. Like when I'm confronted with the very fact that I'm wrong, I literally wake up and go, wow, I was wrong about that. I literally just wake up. I was wrong about that. It happened to me one time. This guy was an absolute jerk. Absolute jerk of a human being. And he came up and corrected me about Hebrews chapter 12, 1 and 2, because I quoted it correctly, but I interpreted it incorrectly. And he was totally right. And I went home, I researched it. I'm like, oh, crap, because I really didn't want him to be right because he's such a turd sucker. So I didn't want him to be right, but he was right. So I called him and I said, you were right, I was wrong. I texted him. I called or texted him. I said, you were right, I was wrong. That's what you do when you find out you're wrong.
Yep.
That's what you actually do. So when you find out that you're wrong and that there's already a nuclear deal long before this, and that there's no evidence whatsoever, Benjamin Netanyahu since 1984 has claimed they're 2 weeks away. Trump right now said that if we wouldn't have attacked, they already would have had a nuclear weapon and used it. Trump, are you going to keep buying into this? This commitment is exactly why they were negotiating with this administration before the war. And every time they would negotiate, what would happen? Israel would come blow them up. Their team would show up to negotiate and Israel would blow them up. And it doesn't mean that I like the mullahs. You can say one evil entity attacks another evil entity, can you not?
Yep.
That mandate came from the former supreme leader who we killed. So the mandate, actually the supreme leader had put out, it is I'm trying to remember whether they're Shiite. It is anti-Shiite Muslim for us to ever have a nuclear weapon. Now, do I believe him? Of course not. But we can monitor the uranium enrichment anyway. Why bother blowing their country into oblivion? Why bother? And again, $2 billion a day, Americans are dead, countless civilians are dead, paving the way for more aggressive hardliners to seize power. So that's what we've done. We had a bad mullah already in charge. And now you've got a worse mullah. And by the way, the worst mullah is now his son who watched his wife and children killed by Americans.
Yep.
That's going to help a lot, right? I wonder why it is we're not having a deal yet. And why are we even there seeking a deal? We're now seeking a deal to give us what we had before the war. We're seeking them to say that they no longer want to develop nuclear weapons. You already had that before the war. Now, do I believe them? No, but you already had that. So we're going to sign another paper? We're going to have another paper. We're going to have another declaration. You're going to have another president who just enriched the military-industrial complex, which are all leftists, by the way. So you have Gunther Eagleman, Benny Johnson, and all the rest of them. Ben Shapiro, of course, Ben Shapiro. Mm-hmm. You have Ben Shapiro talking about, how they're all right-wingers while they support a war that enriches left-wingers. I mean, who owns the military-industrial complex? The left. Larry Fink, Vanguard, BlackRock, they own the military-industrial complex. Go ahead and look into it. Oh no, Vanguard, it's not BlackRock that owns it, it's Vanguard. They're the same thing.
Right.
The primary stockholder in Vanguard is BlackRock. The primary stockholder in BlackRock is Vanguard. It's all an illusion. Everything you see is illusion under 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. The love of money is the root of all evil. Everything is procured for money. World War I, World War II is all about world banking system. It's all that I'm telling you. We knew about Pearl Harbor 1 week in advance. We did nothing about it. No, but that can't happen, even though we're just watching CENTCOM lie to us. Your CDC lies to you. The NIH lies to you. The Republicans lie to you. The Democrats lie to you. Trump lies to you. Biden lies to you. Now they may sprint to develop and acquire a nuclear weapon because now they're like, crap, we want to have that deterrent. Because that's Israel's deterrent, is that they have allegedly 1,000 nuclear warheads. So they have a deterrent. So we are pining and grasping and negotiating and allegedly giving them $300 billion fungible dollars to rebuild their country. That's part of the agreement. You know, where will that go? Into the NGOs, into Democratic Party, and rhino coffers. That's what will happen with that $300 billion. All right, let's go to the next one. Bannon's War Room video. Brandon Weichert on the NDAA clause. No one's talking about. America is merging its defense industry with Israel's. Play for me.
So I basically all weekend did what I used to do on the Hill. I just basically read everything I could inside the actual NDAA PDF. And I focused a lot on 224, Section 224. And it's not what they're saying on the internet. The U.S. and Israeli militaries are not merging commands and whatnot. That's a kind of a misnomer. It's actually kind of scarier. What we're doing is we're merging our defense industrial base and high-end technology development bases into one. So they will, under this law, if it passes as it's written, become a seamless, there will be no change or difference between U.S. and Israeli defense and tech sectors. It will be one big blob. And that is where this is headed.
Hang on, full stop. You got Navarro and this team over at the White House has been about rejuvenating our defense industrial base. So be specific. When you're saying this is one of the critical aspects we have, you were the first to report this, and you got a lot of blowback on it. And now it turns out you were probably directionally closer to the truth than others, but about our ability to have certain weapon systems, certain ammo, between Ukraine, the Gaza situation, what we need for the South China Sea and Taiwan, and what we're unloading onto the Persians. That all gets back to these shortages, and it gets back to our industrial base. We got enough problem with our industrial base and sorting it out. Are you talking to me that this is because the command merger you're saying that's a false narrative, right? But it's deeper that you're actually taking the two industrial bases and you will merge those together. How does that play out in the language of the NDAA?
Well, I break it down in my Substack piece, but basically what they're talking about is they focus on the U.S. Congress wants to be able to basically have complete access to Israeli technology and developing weapons and pick and choose what we can then procure from them. But alternatively, the Israelis will be able to do that as well with our high-end technology and our high-end, and in some cases classified technology. I would remind your audience the most powerful warplane in existence today, it is said, is the F-22 Raptor, which is a fifth-generation air superiority warplane, and it's the one plane we will not share with the British or any ally. But under this deal, if it goes through, potentially the Israelis might get their hands on it. And the reason the previous Congresses didn't want to share the F-22 with anybody is because it has such advanced high-end gear in it. It's stuff that still 30 years after it was first developed is ahead of the game in terms of what our enemies have, and they don't want it getting into the hands of anybody who might misuse it, lose it, or even sell it. And as I said in the article, the pattern is Israel gets our secrets and they leverage those secrets for their own gain, not for what's best for the United States. We saw that with Jonathan Pollard.
You anti-Semitic bigot! How dare you speak the truth? I'm sorry, Mike Huckabee. If I say that Israel leverages our military secrets against us, in other words, commits espionage against us, am I not going to be blessed? Am I cursed by telling the truth? I just have to keep silent, right, on that? Imagine believing that out of Genesis chapter 12, 2 and 3. So it's even worse than what was initially thought. We are merging with the IDF, with our defense industrial base, That's a great idea. So everything that's part of our defense industrial base will be part of their defense industrial base. But we get their stuff too. What stuff? What stuff? I want everybody to name one really good defense weapon. I'm trying to think of different weapons, airplanes, ships, I don't even know. Tech, whatever, defense tech, whatever it is. Name me one great Israeli weapon. The tank, ship, missile. What if they were great? Then why did they buy all of our stuff and then sell it to China?
Right.
Why is that? So imagine this deal. This would be like a billionaire merging with a guy with $100 in his account, and the guy with $100 now gets access to the billions, and the guy in the billions gets access to the $100. That's what we're getting here. Who makes these deals? Who makes these deals? Our ruling elite. That's who makes these deals. Who makes them? The people who are financially profiting off of them. That's who's making it. Life really is that simple. It really is that simple. The people who will profit off of this, because now you're going to have a whole lot more money involved, because Israel is one of the richest per capita nations on the planet. Why we have to give them $3.8 billion per year is beyond me. But anyway, they can pay for it themselves. But now all these politicians who are okaying this, because they're all going to vote for this NDA, because if you don't, Aaron, if you don't, Will, and the 360 people that are watching, you're an anti-Semitic bigot. If you don't vote to merge our military with the IDF, you're an anti-Semitic bigot. We also are merging our high-end tech base with them too. And what does Israel want to do? They're already eyeballing Turkey. They cannot even take Lebanon. They've been striking Lebanon since 1983. I think it may be 73. And still can't take it. Everyone talks about how great their military is. Their military is not that great. Mossad is great about getting pages on people and blowing them up.
Right.
But other than that, and the technology that they used to eliminate all the leadership in Iran was our technology. They don't develop squat. So this is a horrible deal put in place, negotiated by people who will personally profit off of it, possibly even including Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., because they are making billions off of AI and the military-industrial complex right now. People are percolating about it. It's coming up. Is it illegal? I don't think you can. I don't think anybody could claim anything. I mean, you just had Scott Bessent questioned about it on Capitol Hill, but what Scott Bessent answers was get your own house in order. So he didn't even deny it. He was telling congressmen and women who are insider trading, which is really what Don and Eric are potentially doing, allegedly doing. All right, go to the next one for me. All right, here's good Trump right here. Good Trump. Just in, see, I'm not a sycophant. Good and bad will be reported. President Trump signs an executive order invoking the Defense Production Act to save 13 coal plants across 10 states. Biden tried his hardest to close these plants. Brilliant idea to close coal power plants when you have absolutely no replacement. This is what's happening with rolling blackouts in California, telling everybody to shift to electric. And then you shift to electric and you don't have the capacity to run electric. So if you don't have the capacity to run, because having a electric car charger in your home is like having 3 or 4 air conditioners. And you know that's one, your air conditioner and your hot water heater, huge contributors to your electric bill. But you don't have the electric capacity to charge all the electric vehicles that you want to charge. You know why they're doing that? Because they know there's not the capacity. They know. I'm talking about the globalist, leftist, bourgeois elitists. And by the way, we're fighting their war right now. You're like, Trump does good here, but then he's obedient to the globalist, leftist, bourgeois elitists, run by Epstein, run by Larry Fink. Yes, that's people. That's people. Especially principleless people. They're looking to benefit themselves. But this is what they do. So what happens is they don't have the electrical capacity. They shut down the coal-fired plants. That's why they pay $2-3 more a gallon in California. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the refineries. They have nothing. They don't have the transitory system for gas. They actually bring their gas through the Panama Canal to get to California. But anyway, so they do this on purpose. So they shift everybody into electric cars. And then they don't have the electric capacity to charge those cars, because think about it. Think about how much you're pulling away from one energy burning system to another energy burning system. And the problem is when you're burning gas directly into your car, it doesn't have to go through the power plant. And obviously when you are, and again, none of it makes any sense whatsoever. It's either smoke coming out of a person's tailpipe or the power plant's tailpipe. It really doesn't matter. But what they do is leverage you into an electric car. Then there's no capacity to charge the car. Then they can use that now as leverage over your behavior. There's not enough power, so we're going to have to pick and choose who gets the power. That's what it's all about. Please read the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and 14. Leveraging you into a one world commerce system, a single access point controlled by them. Trump's fighting back against aspects of this, fighting back against corrupt elections. Great job fighting back against an open border, although we are having no mass deportations now because that's not politically popular. So Trump immediately shifts sides. Did a great job closing the border. He's arresting, or not necessarily arresting, but investigating corrupt election operations. Great. And this right here is great. It is great. Today, we're officially invoking the Defense Production Act to save 13 coal plants in West Virginia, Kentucky, North Carolina, Indiana, Tennessee, Arizona, Arkansas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, and Wisconsin. Our action will allow these facilities to invest in upgrades that will extend their operational lives for decades into the future. This is great, Trump. And it needs to be acknowledged. This is great Trump right here. And he needs to be acknowledged right after bad Trump. Here's some more great Trump. Nick Sortor video. John Bolton to plead guilty to illegally retaining classified documents. Play for him.
Breaking news, sources revealing that John Bolton is planning to plead guilty to retaining classified information. That plea will likely keep him out of prison. This stems from a charge, 18 of them at the end of last year, of keeping a diary-like material of classified information. So it looks like that case is moving forward and all likelihood is now settled. All right.
All right, here, and that's great Trump. That's Trump's DOJ. That's exactly what needed to happen. Trump raided his home. That needed to happen. And John Bolton, it's actually hysterical. And what a disgusting human being. Now, side note, we're now fighting the war that he always wanted us to fight.
Right.
To make that make sense, you have all these MAGA morons celebrating that John Bolton gets arrested, but we're now fighting the war that John Bolton has been advocating for decades. Isn't that great? But I'll stay the positive for just a minute here. So John Bolton accused Trump of mishandling classified documents, and now he's going to prison for mishandling classified documents. He's facing up to 60 months in prison. And a $2.2 million fine. So hopefully he ends up in prison. He belongs in prison. He's one of those people that would put you in prison for the rest of your life for false charges, for even crimes that don't even exist. Not crimes you didn't commit, crimes that don't even exist, and sleep like a baby at night. That's who John Bolton is. And you know what? Be not deceived, Johnny. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever man sows, that shall he also reap. Enjoy Galatians 6:7. Hopefully he ends up in federal prison for that full 60 months. I would love to see it. He deserves it. Plus, he's just responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people around the globe.
Right.
And now, again, Ben Shapiro is rejoicing in this, I'm sure. Gunther Eagleman is rejoicing in this. Benny Johnson is rejoicing in this. As you whore for his war. Congratulations, because now you're fighting the war that Johnny Bolton has always dreamt about. I want to say nastier things than that, but what he's always dreamt about. All right, let's go to the next one. More good Trump right here. See how I'm such a fair, such a fair arbiter.
Yeah.
Kelly Loeffler, SBA is launching a truly unprecedented investigation. It's unprecedented. Investigation, you're like, Tom, you're setting us up for something. I am. Into pandemic era fraud that until now has never been pursued or prosecuted. Now, I want everybody to remember those 1, 2, 3 words. Pandemic era fraud. Everybody got them? Will, you got it? Aaron, you got them? Everybody watching, you got it, right? Pandemic era fraud. She's going at an unprecedented investigation into it. We're leveraging every available resource to hold criminals accountable and make taxpayers whole. All right, go to the next one for me. Let me just show you this to set this up, all right? Now, this has nothing to do with that, but I just want to show you what we're dealing with. This from Insider Wave tweet. This just got even more interesting. This is from earlier this year. Rep. Byron Donalds just disclosed buying MRVL on April 2nd. Rep. Maria Salazar, both Republicans, discussed buying, and the Democrats are worse. Disclosed, Ro Khanna, look into Ro Khanna, made $59 million last year. But anyway, MRVL again, on April 6th. On April 19th, MRVL reported a collaboration with Google and on AI chip development. They both sit on the Financial Services Committee. So the merger the collaboration would have to be approved by what committee? The Financial Services Committee.
Yep.
So they know they're going to approve it, so they buy stock in it before they approve it with their own money, right? And then it gets approved. Now everybody else finds out about the merger when the merger actually occurs, but not Marvel Technology Inc. What is that, Aaron?
That's the MRVL.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, so they find out everybody else finds out on the day that the collaboration occurs, but not Salazar and not Byron Donalds. They found out 30, 40, 50 days in advance and then buy the stock on the merger, knowing that both companies are now going to receive, I don't know, billions more dollars. They both sit on the Financial Services Committee. Again, these people are trading in the commodities that they regulate. The committee that oversees capital markets, financial technology, all of which are the same, and AI-related financial regulation. The stock is only up 60%, though. How would you like to make 60% in a year? This is what it's all about. Both of these devout Republicans. Just cheating. Just always cheating. All right, go to the next one. So here we go. Now, remember this. Now, you're like, Tom, we were talking about Kelly Loeffler. Well, here's her announcement. You're like, you're setting us up for something. I am. Eric Doherty video. Breaking: Trump CBA chief Kelly Loeffler just caught $1.1 billion in suspected PPP fraud. Freezes 27,000 borrowers in Ohio alone. $9 billion caught in California, Minnesota, and Maine. That's a good thing, by the way. It's a good thing. So here's her announcement. Play for me.
In the country, but they're also our nation's biggest taxpayers. Like every taxpayer, they deserve to know that the programs that they pay into will be there for those who need them, not siphoned away by fraudsters who would rather steal from hardworking Americans than become hardworking Americans. Since day one, the SBA has focused our efforts on the Paycheck Protection Program, which will go down as one of the most defrauded federal programs in American history. During the
All right, so here's Kelly Loeffler again. A previously never done before investigation into PPP fraud, COVID era fraud, people using COVID money. Remember now, who approved that? That would be Donald Trump, $1.7 trillion. And we end up spending $7 trillion on COVID, but they can only trace $800 billion that was actually spent on COVID. So there's actually $6.2 trillion that we have no idea where it went. Isn't that great when you're a country that's $40 trillion in debt, $188 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities? Steve Bannon says $300 trillion. Isn't that great? Now, again, Kelly Loeffler's unprecedented investigation into COVID-era fraud. Kelly Loeffler, then a newly appointed U.S. Senator from Georgia, was at the center of a 2020 congressional insider trading scandal tied to the early COVID-19 pandemic. What happened on July 24th, 2020, Loeffler attended, just like Byron Donalds, just like Maria Salazar, who attended a tech meeting for a tech merger and then found out they were going to merge and quickly invested in the merger when nobody else could. Well, Loeffler did the same thing in January of 2020. Loeffler attended a closed-door senators only. Of course, it's all senators only. We're not allowed to see it. We're not allowed to hear it. Senators only. I say, oh, Bubby, senators only, please. Senators only briefing on the emerging coronavirus threat from Trump administration health officials. Starting that same day and continuing through mid-February, Loeffler and her husband, who coincidentally, James Sprecher, who coincidentally is the chairman and CEO of the Intercontinental Exchange and owner of the New York Stock Exchange. But they're all doing this for your good, right? So starting that same day, she and her husband executed and going through the month of February, all 2020, right before the infamous March of 2020, 15 days to flatten the curve, brought in by Donald J. Trump. They themselves, Loeffler and her husband, executed dozens of stock transactions in January and February of 2020, right after this meeting, starting the same day. Primarily sales worth between $1.275 million and $3.1 million. Some reports cited higher totals across related accounts, up to around $20 million in broader sell-offs. They also made a couple of purchases, including in Citrix, a telework software company that later rose. This occurred in public markets were still relatively, this occurred when public markets were still relatively stable, but by the way, they were saying nothing. They were selling off and saying COVID's not a threat. It wasn't a threat, but they were told that it was, and they knew that it was going to be treated as a threat. So it gets really kind of complex here, doesn't it? Because we all know it wasn't a threat, but they knew it was going to be treated as a threat, and they were trading on it that way. And she very dutifully wore her mask the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Very dutifully. This occurred as public markets were still relatively stable, but before the major crash in March of 2020. Loeffler had publicly downplayed risks. So keep the stocks high while you're selling, right? That's what she said. Everything is fine. All is well, right out of Animal House, right? All is well. All is well. And while she's selling her stocks at max price, had publicly downplayed risk in some communications while the sales happen. Similar trades by other senators, Richard Burr, Dianne Feinstein, and Jim Inhofe fueled a widespread outrage, calls for resignations, and nothing ever happened. And accusations because they were all in this meeting and then traded off of that meeting. That's what we're dealing with. And it appears Donald Trump and his sons are doing the same stuff, folks. Listen, they're not saved. People expect Trump to be a Christian. He's not a Christian. He's not. Listen, if you put up a picture of yourself as Jesus, you're not a Christian, okay? We'll put it out there last night. You put up a picture like that, you're not in the right frame of mind, okay? And I don't care whether he did it. Well, don't put it in those comments. He didn't create it. Did he post it or did he not? Did he post it, then get all sorts of criticism for it, then took it down and then claimed that he was portraying himself as a doctor? And you're going to trust that he's not doing any insider trading doing basically the same insider trading as congressmen and women are doing? Why wouldn't he? He's not going to get prosecuted. They're not going to get prosecuted. All right, let's go to the next one. Change the subjects. Thomas Massey tweet. On June 8, 2026, I'll speak on the floor of the House to honor and memorialize the brave crew of the USS Liberty. Shut up, you're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. This is absolutely an anti-Semite. You are. You cannot mention this at all. No, I'm Mike Huckabee. That's right. Let's let them take the whole region, Greater Israel. Let them take all of that, kill as many people as they want. And they own Pornhub. They own OnlyFans. They're very much pro-trans, very much pro-homosexual, vaccine pimps, whores, green passes, and everything else. But if you say one word about it, you're not going to be blessed. You're going to be cursed. So I just would love to know these Israel whores. I would just love to know, what do you have to say about this? And again, see, for me, it's all about the nation state of Israel. I don't care about Jews versus, I don't care about any of that stuff. All I care about is the nation state of Israel. I'm going to talk about them like I do Canada, Mexico, Spain, France, England, Japan, China, Russia. Whatever they do good, I'll acknowledge it. Whatever they do bad, I'll acknowledge it. Only thing is, can't find any good.
Yeah.
Can't find any good right now. Can you? All right, so here we go. I'll speak on the floor of the House to honor and memorialize the brave crew of the USS Liberty who died and were wounded in an unprovoked attack by Israel, unequivocally, unarguably, on June 8, 1967. Ask the people who are still alive from the Liberty who attacked them. They're lying. They're lying. Catch my speech on C-SPAN. All right, go to the next one, we will. So here it is. Was this any of this true? Oh, the USS Liberty was an attack. The USS Liberty incident was an attack on a United States Naval Technical Research ship, a spy ship. And this was actually commanded by Lyndon Baines Johnson. He said, put that ship on the bottom of the ocean. That's what happened. But Lyndon Baines Johnson, in between N-words, I guess, he's just a fabulous person, right? Okay. And by the way, I believe was responsible in coordinating JFK's assassination, but I digress. But anyway, credit Roger Stone on that. USS Liberty by Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft and Israeli Navy motor torpedo boats. An attack by who? Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft and Israeli Navy motor torpedo boats On the 8th of June, 1967, during the Six-Day War, the attack killed 34 crew members, Navy officers, seamen, 2 Marines, 1 civilian, and an NSA employee, wounded 171 crew members and severely damaged the ship. Both the Israeli and United States government conducted inquiries and issued reports that concluded the attack was a mistake due to Israeli confusion about the ship's identity, with the American flag flying over it and it being, and with USS Liberty painted on the side of it with an giant American flag, get myself on screen, fluttering over. That's going to be mistaken.
Right.
By a jet and by torpedo boats. And you can see on the deck of the ship all the American servicemen with their American military uniforms on, Navy uniforms on. And 2 Marines, Will. And, I mean, just fantastic. And you're not allowed to talk about it.
Right.
Any other country did this, you can talk about it. But not now. You're not allowed to do it. You're not going to be allowed to go to UFC 250 to talk about it. All right, let's go to the next one. Heritage tweet. Heritage Foundation tweet. Right-wing extremism is so uncommon that left-wing extremists have to fund it. This is, and by the way, brilliance of Trump. Brilliance of Trump right here. See, the truth is the truth. When he does something brilliant, you know what you call it when he does something brilliant? Brilliant. You know what you call it when he does something evil? Evil. When you know what you call it when he does something good? Good. What do you do when he does something excellent? You call it excellent. Same thing with Israel, by the way. Just can't find any good stuff right now. So this is great. You look at the bottom here from Tyler O'Neill. The Justice Department just secured, this is all what, today's the 4th, right? So
yeah.
this is all yesterday?
Yep.
The Justice Department just secured a superseding indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center, and it reveals some new bombshells. All right, go to the next one for me. Oh, no, you don't need to go to the next one. Rewind, just bring it back to me, because this is a read only. From MJ Truth Ultra. So here's what they're talking about. This is unreal. And the greatness of Trump here, the greatness of the Trump DOJ test, greatness of Todd Blanche right here. And I don't like Todd Blanche. Don't trust Todd Blanche, but this is Todd Blanche. This is Donald Trump going after the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is nothing more than a propagandist NGO that I'm sure you and I have been funding for years. The Southern Poverty Law Center secretly, this is unreal, secretly paid. We knew about the generalities of this. We knew the macro, but we didn't know the micro. Now here's the micro. The Southern Poverty Law Center secretly paid a neo-Nazi over $1.2 million in donor money, a neo-Nazi, and directed the burglaries of documents to encourage fundraising. Federal investigators discovered that SPLC paid informant F9 made more than $1.2 million in donor money during the period covered by the indictment. This is for the Ku Klux Klan, by the way. That's why I read the Heritage Foundation. Leftism can't find any white supremacist terrorism, so they actually have to create it themselves. So most of the money, most of it funneled covertly through a tech writer's bank account, while F9 had been on the SPLC payroll for over 20 years. At the FPLC's direction, F9 infiltrated the neo-Nazi National Alliance and simultaneously fundraised for the extremist group while receiving SPLC funds. 2014 burglary and document theft. FD9 allegedly broke into an extremist organization's headquarters, stole approximately 25 boxes of documents, and transported them across state lines from West Virginia to North Carolina with full knowledge, knowingly, an SPLC employee. Number 2, donor money was used to copy stolen files. FD9 then broke in a second time to return the originals. Hate Watch story used for fundraising. Employee 2 allegedly based a published Hate Watch article on the stolen documents, which the SPLC then used to solicit additional donations from the public. So they are funding heinous activities by the KKK and then raising money off of the heinous activities that they themselves created. It sounds almost like October 7th. Where you create the attack and then can blow the crap out of Gaza for the next year and a half, 2 years. Amazing how that works, isn't it? It's almost like the same sort of evil ideology as infiltrated the entire world, right? Because the love of money is the root of all evil. All about money right here. All right, go to the next one. Speaking of evil, RNC research tweet. Democrats hate women. Dems replace mother with gestating parent in latest woke rewrite of New York law. I just had to throw that one in there. You're like, what's that got to do with the rest of that? I don't know. I just had to throw it in there. It just shows you the Democrats are. Again, it doesn't make you pro-Democrat to criticize conservatives for not being conservative. It doesn't make you pro-Democrat to hold Trump accountable for no new wars. Conservatism doesn't make you a Democrat to make conservatives to be conservative. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to vaccines for a couple minutes. Nicholas Holscher video. We now have internal documents. All of this is percolating. Hopefully, with the help of the Trump administration, with the help of RFK Jr., this will all come to the surface and people will spend the rest of their life in federal prison. We now have internal documents proving the FDA covered up 25 plus COVID shot safety signals, including just minor ones like sudden death, heart attacks. And we've put this out on the podcast before. This all came to light that the shots were causing this, and the Biden administration found out about it. And, immediately what you normally would do is take the shots, off the market, take the shots off the shelf. But no, they covered it up instead and kept telling people to take them, including sudden death, heart attacks, pulmonary infarction, strokes, brain damage, and blood clots. Play for me.
And it's very disturbing. In fact, what Senator Ron Johnson and his team uncovered was that the FDA literally buried 25 safety signals with the COVID shots in 2021, including sudden cardiac death, brain clots, pulmonary infarction, cardiac failure, heart attacks, etc. An FDA staffer, our chief scientist, actually developed a new way to analyze adverse events in the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And her new way destroyed the limitation of what's called masking to give you a more accurate representation and find the true safety signals. And she presented that method and the safety signals to FDA leadership. They ordered her to cease and desist. And they said her work was a distraction while millions were getting the shots, millions. And they buried this. It's very unfortunate.
Imagine having an agenda. You find out that your agenda is killing people, and what do? You defend the agenda instead of stop the agenda. That's the Democratic Party. That's the Democratic Party. And hopefully, listen, they've already gone after. They've already indicted Morans, which is Dr. David Morans, which is Anthony Fauci's right-hand man, who is teaching people how to avoid the algorithm search of their emails by putting in false words and misspelling words and everything else, teaching people how to hide the fact that they were doing gain-of-function research. So I have hope here. Listen, if Trump is putting other people in prison, if he's putting John Bolton in prison, there's a good chance, because now people like me Trump hates, but I don't think he wants to put people like me in prison, because I never want him to go to prison. But the people who try to put him in prison, he may go get them. And then that'd be the greatness of Trump again, because that's what you should do. Now, this is not the first time this has happened. Got to show you this video. I've held on to this video. I've had it for a year, and I never showed it. Chief Nerd video. This new study from Henry Ford destroys the safe and effective narrative. This goes way back. Play it for me.
It's the CDC's responsibility to do those studies, and they've been ordered again and again and again to do them, and they have refused.
This is information that vaccine safety advocates want, and I'm not sure why it hasn't been done.
What we would need is a scientist that the CDC could trust.
They would have to be a passionately pro-vaccine, highly accredited group of scientists willing to do a super robust, retrospective, vaccinated versus unvaccinated comparative study.
As fate would have it, Dell met the head of infectious disease at Henry Ford Health System, Marcus Zervos.
Dr. Zervos is the perfect epidemiologist for the study. He's incredibly pro-vaccine, and he's also used to being in high-profile cases because he was at the center of the Flint, Michigan water investigation. Dr. Zervos only agreed to do this study to prove us wrong.
Dell and I thought that was an excellent opportunity.
We only had one request.
Whatever the outcome, you publish it. And he said, whatever the results, they get published. Would he stick to that promise if the results show that unvaccinated kids are healthier? Didn't know.
Impact of childhood vaccination on short and long-term chronic health outcomes in children, a birth cohort study. I've never seen this study before.
18,468 subjects.
Henry Ford, like other institutions, has a bias towards the goodness of vaccines. If the results came back demonstrating that the battery of vaccines was associated with chronic diseases, such a result would be particularly convincing. This could be essentially one of the most valuable studies in the field.
The vaccinated subjects were over 4 times more likely to have an asthma diagnosis.
600% more acute and chronic ear infections.
4.47 times the amount of speech disorders in the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated.
5.5 times risk.
616% increase. Learning issues, developmental delays, speech delays, language delays.
Amongst the unvaccinated group, there were 0.
There was 0 brain dysfunction, 0 diabetes, 0 behavioral problems, 0 learning disabilities, 0 intellectual disabilities, 0 tics, and 0 other psychological disabilities. None.
It's a big difference.
It's very important that the study sees the light of day.
This is devastating.
This paper should have been rushed to publication on an emergency basis.
We are systematically making kids sick, and not just a little bit sick, very sick.
This may be the most important study that has ever been done, and it needs to be published.
He knows if he puts his name on this, his career is over.
I mean, obviously, really emotional.
Zervo's probably going to lose his job over this.
This is an inconvenient study for the entire vaccine agenda.
So obviously that's from a little bit ago, but that shows you what it is. And we're going to skip the next one. Will, I'm just going to read it. Aaron Siri just revealed that, you know what? I'm going to show it. It's too good not to show. I got to show it. So here's Aaron Siri testifying about it. Now, everybody's heard of this Henry Ford study, right? No, they buried it. So this study came out and it proved that vaccinated kids get all the diseases and the unvaccinated ones get nothing. Everybody hear that? Almost like COVID. The only people who ever really died of COVID were the vaccinated. You're like, what are you talking about, Tom? The epicenter was 2020. You had the alpha variant that was out. There was no excess deaths. Everybody died of quote unquote COVID or long COVID in 2021 post-vaccination. That's a fact, by the way. We can show you the charts again and again and again. And from non-biased sources. So here you have it. You have this definitive study done by Marcos Zervos, a pro-vaccination whore, who agrees to do the study, but I guess then didn't insist upon it being released because it would destroy his career, because the love of money is the root of all evil. You would rather kids die of coronary embolisms than actually live and you lose your job. Amazing. I mean, you could, as a doctor, you probably get a job somewhere else other than the Henry Ford Clinic or whatever. All right, so End Tribalism in Politics video, must watch. Aaron Siri just revealed that a vaccinated versus unvaccinated study from the Henry Ford Medical Center was buried because it showed unvaccinated children were healthier. Play for me.
Study of comparing vaccinated versus unvaccinated children. As the trailer you just watched noted, Del Bigtree, ICANN CEO, had met Dr. Marcus Zervos at one point, who was the head of infectious disease at Henry Ford Medical Center. And he agreed to meet and to potentially do the study. He conducts clinical trials for vaccines, including for the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. He's avowedly pro-vaccine. And when we met him, we argued that this was an opportunity to shut the anti-vaxxers up about their claim that unvaccinated children are healthier. To our surprise, Dr. Zervos said he would conduct the study. He recruited a chief epidemiologist and 2 statisticians within Henry Ford to do so. These were mainstream scientists who no doubt held orthodox views regarding vaccines. In early 2020, I received a copy of the study. It showed the results of the analysis comparing children enrolled in Henry Ford from 2000 to 2016 from birth onward who had no vaccines compared to those who had 1 or more vaccines. This study was based on actual medical records. Meaning, finally, a large vaccinated versus unvaccinated study using health data from a major United States health institution, something, as the IOM pointed out, never existed before. The study began by explaining it set out to reduce vaccine hesitancy by assuring parents the CDC vaccine schedule is safe. Instead, what these researchers found was that vaccinated children had 4.29 times the rate of asthma, 3.03 times the rate of atopic disease, 5.96 times the rate of autoimmune disease, and 5.53 times the rate of neurodevelopmental disorders, which included 3.28 times the rate of developmental delay and 4.47 times the rate of speech disorder. All of these findings were statistically significant. There was also other conditions for which there were numerous cases in the vaccinated group, but zero in the unvaccinated group. Hence, a rate cannot be calculated, including brain dysfunction, ADHD, learning disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and tics. For example, there were 262 cases of ADHD in the vaccinated group, and there were none in the unvaccinated group. In this study, there were around 16,000 kids in the vaccinated group, by the way, and around 2,000 in the unvaccinated group. So the rate, of course, between those is important, and that's what the study compared. These findings were troubling, including because these chronic health issues can be caused by immune system dysregulation, and vaccines can cause immune system dysregulation. Citations for this are in my written submission. Overall, the study found that after 10 years, 17% of the unvaccinated children had a chronic health issue, while 57% of the vaccinated children had at least one chronic health issue, often multiple. That's 17 versus 57%. The only real problem with this study and why it didn't get submitted for publication is that its findings did not fit the belief and the policy that vaccines are safe. Had it found vaccinated children were healthier, it no doubt would have been published immediately. But because it found the opposite, it was shoved in a drawer. We have repeatedly urged Dr. Zervos and Lamoretta to submit the study for publication. They have affirmed the study was well designed and conducted, but Dr. Zervos has said he doesn't want to lose his job. And Dr. Lamoretta has said she does not want to make doctors uncomfortable. This is a real-world example of how the science around vaccines gets corrupted, how only studies that confirm the beliefs and policies that vaccines are safe get published. Everything else gets shoved in a drawer. This selection bias is dangerous and results in corrupting all the science concerning vaccine safety. We can protect children from infectious disease, and we can protect children from vaccine harms. We should and we must do both.
So you just have to ask about the motives of people, right? If you have a doctor who's like, I'm pro-vaccine, really believes in it, as stupid as that is, they really believe in it, and then you do a definitive study which shows everything that Aaron Siri just outlined, why would you not immediately become anti-vax? Why? What's your motive? Either it's either pride, which goes before destruction, Proverbs 16:18, or it's either that or you just don't want to admit that you're wrong, or there's money involved, you don't want to lose your job, so you're willing to kill human beings to keep your job. And the answer to that question is yes. Because that's the actual truth. The actual truth is you're okay with maiming and killing human beings for whatever your motive is. That makes you a murderer. Your motive is what? To keep your job. Your motive is pride. You don't want to admit that you're wrong. If I do, I'm going to damage the health industry. How would you damage the health industry? By revealing that the health industry is killing people. What are you damaging then? That reminds me of people saying, well, Spencer Pratt shouldn't be the leader of Los Angeles, mayor of Los Angeles, because he has no experience like Karen Bass. Karen Bass is killing Los Angeles. Why would you not want to change that for somebody who might kill it less? Makes no sense. So you just listen to these numbers. These numbers are unfreaking real. Unreal. And listen to this. So Dr. Zervos, who now refuses, and he says publicly, I refused to submit this report to the Lancet for peer review because I'll lose my job. And where are all the doctors that are rising up saying, we want to see this? Wouldn't you, if you're one of these vaccine pimps and whores as a doctor, wouldn't you want to see that you're accidentally killing people? Guess not. I just rather not know. What I don't know can't hurt me. Well, actually it can, and maybe your kids, and maybe all the kids you're injecting in your office. So Zervos recruited a chief epidemiologist and 2 statisticians. These were mainstream scientists with orthodox views about vaccinations. In other words, they loved them. The study compared children enrolled at Henry Ford from 2000 to 2016, so this was no small study. It was based on actual medical records. Vaccinated children had 4.3 times the rate of asthma, 3.3 times the rate of atopic disease, 6 times the rate of autoimmune disease, 5.5 times the rate of neurodevelopment disorders, including 3.28 times developmental delay, 4.7 times speech disorder, all compared to the unvaccinated. 4, 5, 6 times more likely if you're vaccinated than unvaccinated. You think the medical profession would run and say, we've got to change now? And by the way, this is exactly what happened with the Biden administration with the COVID vaccinations in 2021. They found out they were killing people. They found out they were causing people to have pulmonary embolisms and blood clots and calamari, clogged veins. And what do? Cover it up so that people can keep taking the vaccination. Now you have to ask, why would they do that? Dr. Drew asked that question. Why would they do that? Because it might destroy the confidence in our medical system. Wouldn't that be a good thing? If the medical system is killing people, wouldn't it be good for people to not have confidence in it? Does that make sense, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. ADHD, 262 cases in the vaccinated group, 0 in the unvaccinated group. All these findings were statistically significant. After 10 years, 57% of vaccinated children had a chronic health issue. 60%. Often multiple. Only 17% of the unvaccinated children did. Had it found vaccinated kids were healthier, the report would have automatically been released. I found this on Twitter, and I was looking at something else, and I just had to put it out here. Here's our health experts right here. NPR. Dozens of public health and disease, what, Aaron? Experts. Experts have signed an open letter in support. Look at the date on the bottom, June 20, 2020. In support of nationwide anti-racism protests. Remember this? I don't know if we had been banned yet, so people were still singing this podcast. But anyway, because we report on things like this, where you had the George Floyd protests and the BLM protests, everybody smashed into a crowd, nobody wearing a mask, and suddenly that was perfectly fine and not a health risk. Why? Because white supremacy is a lethal public health issue that predates and contributes to COVID-19. The only white supremacy issues are the ones that are being funded and made to happen by the SPLC, as we just found out. The only time you have a white supremacist problem is one that's being created by NGO money, by Southern Poverty Law Center money being given to it to create it. But anyway, so this is the health experts. Imagine you're somebody saying that you can't go to a church that's got, 500 people sitting in a building that can seat 700 people. I'm not talking about social distancing or anything, but you're just basically normal seating. Like we have 856 seats in our sanctuary. Every Sunday, there's between 750 and 800 people sitting in there. All right. So there's a little bit of room. That was outlawed. But you could go to, not us, we never closed, never will, never masked, never will, never vaxxed, never will. But anyway, I'm talking about, we did nothing. We did no social distancing, none. We never closed, never will, never mitigated, never sprayed anything, never masked anything, never took a vaccination, nothing. Never hoarded any of it, never was scared of it either. But anyway, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what Trump should have done too. He would have won in 2020. He would have won the 2020 election if he did. But anyway, so you have all these people that are advocating that you can't sit in the same room with somebody. You can't shop at a Home Depot with anybody when you never get within 17 feet of anybody. But you can be jam-packed into some community center with 5,000 people face to face, 1 inch from each other's face. And that is not a mass spreader event. Those are the experts. Why? How can they have that level of extreme hierarchical hypocrisy and delusion and nonsensicalness? Why? Because they're not motivated by public health. They're motivated by personal profit. That's why. All right, there you go. That's good. 10-12. Love you guys. Glad you're still with me. 364. We're building back. We're building back better. Gosh, I hate that term. All right, we got rants?
Yeah, we got 3.
All right, 3 rants. Let's hit them.
Jules 21Rs donated $20. Bookends Bible Study.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Glad you brought that up because I forgot to announce it. Thank you, Jules. 21 Hours Back. Tomorrow night, live only. No replay, no nothing. Live only on TikTok and on Instagram, 8 o'clock. Pure Bible Study, doing Romans chapter 8 tomorrow. Romans chapter 8. It will be awesome. Pure Bible, no politics. None. I actually do keep my mouth shut. We end up usually going somewhere between an hour and 10, an hour, 20 minutes. Just like the podcast, which is only supposed to go an hour, and that's only supposed to go an hour. But anyway, so we usually end up going a little bit longer than that. But I'm absolutely no politics because here's the deal. Politics is a hobby. The Bible is my life. So That's all that it is. I promise you, it doesn't go, because that's the answer. That is the answer. The word of God is the answer. It really is. We found that for people like me who are now part of 45% of what was MAGA that have pseudo turned on Trump, and not turned on Trump by just pointing out where he's wrong. That's it. Now you see me talk about the positive stuff tonight too. So I'm not black-pilled or anything. Problem with being black-pilled is you will then make everything black-pilled. Like if you watch Nick Fuentes, Trump can do nothing right. Okay, that's not correct either. All right, I like some of the stuff that Nick Fuentes says. I'm just saying that gets to where now Trump does nothing right. Alex Jones just hits it on the money. It's my number one thing I watch now is Alex Jones. Still watch Bannon too. Bannon's pretty close. He's still a little too sycophantical for Trump. But anyway, he does say the truth about it. But the answer is the word of God. The answer is a nationwide revival of people legitimately turning their lives over to Jesus Christ through the remission of their sins, through the repentance of their sins. That's the answer. So tomorrow night, Instagram live only, Instagram and TikTok live only. If you don't know how to get an account, find a young person. They can get you. They can in 2 minutes have you on both platforms. So do it. Find it. Get on there. Join us. Let's break the numbers. All right, stick around for the post game.
I got 2 more.
Oh, that's right. I've got more rants. Go ahead.
Charlie E340 donated $50.
Wow, huge rant. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie 340, thank you for the rant. I don't know what the zeros are, or what that is, but anyway, I love you. Thank
there
you
are emojis.
So much. Emojis?
Yeah.
Some kind of, Grok doesn't always get the emojis right.
Yeah.
Grok is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And Twitter was all funky today anyway. All right, go to the next for me.
U.S. Abbey Girl donated $20. Voted early today in the great state of South Carolina. Hoping we get rid of the warmonger, Lady Graham. Thank you, Pastor Tom, for the facts on the podcast, the Bible study, and Sunday mornings.
Thank you, USA Abigail. Me too. I'm really hoping that Lindsey Graham gets defeated. The latest polling is showing hope. There was no hope early, even 2 weeks ago. There's no hope at all. But the latest polling shows some hope. So hopefully, as you put it, Lady Graham does get defeated. And thank you so much for voting. I'm always voting. I'm not blackpilling. I'm voting. That's how it is. So anyway, it's kind of the weekend. So join us at Foundation Church this Sunday. If I don't see you tomorrow night, join us Foundation Church this Sunday online or in person. If you can be here, Google the address, find out how far we are away. Come meet me at the door. I shake hands with everybody who's stands there and waits for me to shake hands with them. Usually takes 10 or 15 minutes max. So come and I'd love to meet you in person. So come to the church. If you have a name in the chat, I'll recognize your name. 99% of the time, I'll recognize the names from the chat. But anyway, I love you guys. Really do appreciate you sticking with the podcast in this MAGA civil war. But you know what? We still agree on a lot of things. So hopefully we can get it back together. Hopefully Trump turns it around. All right, I love you guys. God bless you. Stick around for the post game. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow night. Maybe I'll see you Sunday. If not, I'm still going to be off Monday for now, even though I hate it. I'm having no fun doing it. But if I don't see you at any of those other times, I'll see you Tuesday night, 9 o'clock as always. Love you guys. God bless you.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
You are the unvaccinated. You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem, period, end of story.
The only people that you can blame, this isn't shaming, this is the truth. Maybe they should be shamed, are the unvaccinated.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
Anyone you came into contact with will blame you, as will the rest of us who have done the right thing by getting vaccinated.
Because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
I think it's time to get our moral house in order, Anderson. It's the unvaccinated who are the threat.
All of us vaccinated folks are going to start wearing masks to protect the unvaccinated folks. It's called a Christian value.
You're basically punishing the vaccinated for the sins of the unvaccinated.
People are not behaving honorably. The unvaccinated are basically saying, well, it's open season for me. I can do whatever I want as well.
The unvaccinated are basically beating their breasts and running around the country saying, we don't care, we're living free and so forth.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
The unvaccinated, a group that includes children and people acting like children. And the rest of us are starting to get pissed off.
The vaccinated feel the unvaccinated are making me upset or angry.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No,
Screw your freedom.
The other day, Howard Stern weighed in with a much different approach. Take a look.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? Their freedom.
But you're treading on our freedom and you're making other people sick, and really you're killing other people.
The anti-vaxxers, they seem to have a thing for death and home remedies.
The anti-maskers turned anti-vaxxers are not just putting their own lives at risk. If that was the issue, we could just say that we can watch them compete to win place or show in the Darwin Awards.
We have to start doing things for the greater good of society and not for idiots who think that they can do their own research.
And don't get me started on the lunatics who won't take any of the COVID vaccines.
Life is too short to be an ass. Life is way too short to be ignorant of the promise of something that is helping people worldwide.
Maybe you're doing it because you're disconnected or disorganized. Maybe you have some sympathetic psychological reasons. But maybe you're just being antisocial.
Oh, you can't shame them. You can't call them stupid. You can't call them silly. Yes, they are.
Those who are not vaccinated will end up paying the price.
The unvaccinated should be taxed. They should pay more for health care.
We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same as we look at driving while intoxicated.
We're going to see, and I've said, almost two types of America.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack, yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Pointing back to the unvaccinated who are really creating a problem in this country, every death that we are seeing from COVID could have been prevented.
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know how some of you sleep at night.
Ай, молодець, бросай. Давай, бросай. Улька, давай. Улька, молодець. Давай.
Well, it's Pride Month again, making this the perfect time of year to see what inspirational passages can be found in God's Word that will help you celebrate Pride. Kick your pride up a notch and pass these comforting verses on to the gays in your life. Ooh, this one's coming all the way from Proverbs chapter 8, verse 13. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil, pride and arrogance and the way of evil, and perverted speech I hate. Wow, inspiring. Or consider this verse, Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. You shall not lie with a man as with a woman. It is an abomination. I'm not sure what all those words mean, but it sounds good. Ooh, Job chapter 35, verse 12. There they cry out, but he does not answer, because of the pride of evil men. Neat. Ooh, my favorite, Daniel 4, verse 37. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are right, and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. See, God works during Pride Month. Little known fact, King Nebuchadnezzar was the world's first furry. Diversity. Hey, check this out the next time you're at a bathhouse. Romans chapter 1, verse 27. And the man likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. That'll be good in your parade. Oh, here's a good one. James chapter 4, verse 6. But he gives more grace. Therefore, it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Oh, here's a good one from Jude, verse 7. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example of undergoing a punishment of eternal fire. Cool. Wow, isn't the Bible just really great? Truly heartwarming. Be sure to side hug a gay and share one of these inspiring verses today. Happy Pride Month.
Podcast is all about. We talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.